Yeah, we can tell you, Brooke, that basically she was inside her house that night, the 14th of February, left her house and was walking about a quarter of a mile up the road when she was last seen. Now,
and if they think they seen something, pick up the phone and call. They never know. What they think might not be nothing could be the answer to our prayers. Well, she is the type of child that would give you the shirt off her back. She never wanted anybody mad at her for anything. She wanted everybody to be her friend. She wanted everybody to be happy. After 20 years, I still believe my daughter is alive. I do not believe she's dead. And I know somebody knows something. I'm not crazy enough to think that a 9-year-old can disappear into thin air without somebody knowing something. Never thought it would be 23 years. 23 years ago when this happened, never thought it would still be 23 years later and we know nothing.
Still got hope and faith that one day that we won't have to make that walk no more, that she will be home.
Just bring her back home. Help me get my family back.
Hi friends. We will be reading about the disappearance of Asha Degree. A quick rundown on Asha Degree before I dive straight into the disappearance. Asha was a 9-year-old little girl from Shelby, North Carolina. She was shy and she excelled in academics and sports, and she was Shelby's sweetheart. On February 13th, a Sunday, the children went to church from a relative's house and then returned home. Around 8 p.m. that night, both children went to bed in the room they shared. Almost an hour later, the power went out in the neighborhood after a nearby car accident. The power came back on at 12:30 a.m., at which time Harold checked on the children and saw both Asia and O'Brien asleep in their beds. He checked again shortly before he went to bed at 2:30 a.m. on February 14th and again saw them both. Shortly after, O'Brien, then aged 10, recalls hearing Aisha's bed squeak. He did not further rouse himself, as he assumed she was merely changing positions in her sleep. Apparently around this time, Asha got out of bed, taking a book bag she had previously packed with several sets of clothes and personal items, and left the house. Between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m., a truck driver and a motorist saw her walking south along Highway 18, wearing a long-sleeved white t-shirt and white pants, just north of its junction with Highway 180. They reported this to police after seeing a TV report about her disappearance. The motorist said that he turned his car around because he thought it was strange such a small child would be out by herself at that hour. He circled 3 times and saw Degree run into the woods by the roadside and disappear. It was a rainy night, and the witness said there was a storm raging when he saw her. County Sheriff Dan Crawford said, "We're pretty sure it was her because the descriptions they gave are consistent with what we know she was wearing." He added that they also saw her at the same place, heading the same direction. Laquilla, the mother, awoke at 5:45 a.m. to get the children ready for school. That morning, this involved drawing a bath for them because they had not been able to take one the night before due to the power outage. When she opened the children's room to wake them up before their 6:30 alarm and called them to the bath, O'Brien was in his bed, Asha was not, and Laquilla was unable to find her in the house or in the family's car. She told Harold she could not find their daughter. He suggests Asha might have gone over to his mother's house across the street. When Laquilla called there, a sister-in-law said Asha was not there. That's when I went into panic mode. I heard a car next door. I put shoes on and ran outside. Laquilla called her mother, who told her to call the police. By 6:40 a.m., the first police officers had arrived on scene. Police dogs called to the scene could not pick up Asha's scent. Laquilla went through the neighborhood calling Asha's name, which she said had awakened everyone by 7 a.m. Friends, family, and neighbors canceled their plans for the day to assist police in searching the vicinity, while the pastor of their church, along with other area clergymen, came to the Degrees' home to support them. By the day's end, all that had been found was a mitten, which Laquilla Degree said did not belong to her daughter. Nothing that no winter clothing had been taken from the house. Local news coverage prompted the two drivers who had seen Asha walking along the road early that morning, including the one whose attempt to approach her apparently prompted Asha to flee into the woods, to report the sightings to police. On February 15th, candy wrappers were found in a shed at a nearby business along the highway, near where Asha had been seen running into the woods. Along with them were a pencil, a green marker, and a yellow hair bow that were identified as belonging to her. Also found was a photograph of a black girl around Asha's age who has yet to be identified. It was the only trace of her found during the initial search. On February 16th, Laquilla realized that Asha's bedroom was missing her favorite clothing, including a pair of blue jeans with a red stripe. A week later, the search was called off after 9,000 man-hours had been invested in a search of the 2 to 3 mile radius of where she had last been seen. Flyers had been posted all over the area, and 300 leads have been submitted that range from possible sightings to tips about abandoned houses and wells where Asha might have ended up. We have never really had that first good substantial lead, said County Sheriff Dan Crawford at a news conference. He urged the media to keep the story alive.
When a child is missing, it's worse than death. Because with death, you've got closure. With this, you don't know.